Good
Hello, good
morning.
morning.
Happy Saturday. It's the first weekend of June. Ready na ba ang mga cart nyo? Bukas ay 6-6 sale na.
Oh my goodness, oo nga, 'di ba? Hmm.
Yes, pero kung hindi naman kayo add to cart dahil meron po kayong pinaghahandaang tinatawag po nating, of course, the Philippine Wedding Summit on June 26 to July 25. Hihikayatin po namin kayo na dito na lang po tayo mag-add to cart. Lalo kung kayo ay kinakasal or you have a special occasion that's going on. But kidding aside, no, we have such a jam-packed episode today. We have such, ano ba tawag dyan? Heavyweights joining us this morning because earlier this week, Miss Sharon and I stumbled upon an article no, na medyo as your friends in the wedding industry, medyo nagulat kami dun sa nabasa naming article. Ano po ba yun, Miss Sharon?
Well, nakakagulat 'yun. Maalala ko yung time na 'yun, 'di ba? Maaga pa. Tapos nag-forward na tayo. Well, it was a wedding that made the headlines because it became a super spreader event. And
Yes.
I'm sure walang may gusto nun. Uh, even the couple, no, it must have been very hard for them to realize that their wedding became a super spreader. I think yung headline that we saw was 43 people got infected. So that's our topic this morning. How are we going to avoid our own event from becoming a super spreader activity? So kasi baka there are things that we are doing na hindi natin alam. Pwede palang maging source of possible contamination or paghawa sa ibang guest, di ba? Because as we know, we can do all the necessary precautions, but there's no 100% guarantee that totally COVID-free. Di ba? Nothing, walang indicator. Di ba? Walang magsasabi na, okay, you're safe, you're good to go, kahit anong mangyari in the next 4 hours, we assure you no one will get infected. There's no way of doing that now. All we can do
Yes,
is
and we're going and that includes, we have to say this even in the beginning, that includes testing. Okay,
yes,
we also think that that is the one that ensures the 100% safety of the event. But we'll talk about that more in our pre-recorded interview with Dr. Anna York Bondoc. Again, no guest to the Love Wins Live Forum. And she was with us yesterday and we spoke to her about, and we asked her about our questions, our medical questions. Ano ba talaga yung kailangan natin bantayan so that we can ensure that our event, our weddings, our anniversaries, our birthdays are as safe as it can possibly be. Because the thing is, it can be done safely. But again, there are things that we need to remember so that we can do so. So without further ado, we are going to share our pre-recorded interview with Doc Anna York Bondoc. And then we're gonna come back and talk to,
live.
of course, none other than, yes, live after our pre-recorded interview, none other than Mr. Robert Blancaflor, of course, the spokesperson and core member of NLEC PH, to talk more about having a safe event and actually, more importantly, making sure that your event is not a super spreader event. So here we are.
Yes.
Of course, so we have with us Dr. Anna York Bondoc, who is returning as a guest and one of our favorite guests to have on the Love Wins Live Forum because of the clarity that she provides
Yan, medyo nag-freeze yan. Si Dr. Anna York Bondoc, who is first and foremost a wife, yan, a mother, doctor, and a public servant. So welcome back, Dr. Anna.
Hi, Miss Sharon and Miss Rona, and it's a huge pleasure for me na makasama kayo again to this Love Wins Forum. And it's always my pleasure to be your guest, and it's my goal also to help the events industry in any way that I can.
Yeah. Doc, umpisa na tayo straight to the point. Recently, There was a wedding that made the headlines because I think it became a super spreader event. Okay, so, ang tanong dito, I'm sure nobody wants that to happen in their own event, di ba? Pero, um, ano yung ano yung dapat natin i-avoid, 'di ba, when we plan? I'm sure nag-ano yan eh, 'di ba, when you plan these things, when you do wedding planning, you do a lot of considerations. But ano bang importante na ma-remember when you're planning for a wedding to avoid these things from happening?
Uh, Sharon, talagang malungkot talaga rin. I also personally read it that a wedding in Quezon City recently became a super spreader event with more than 40 persons who were eventually tracked and found to be positive. So talagang malungkot yon, both for the persons who became positive and of course for the persons who had their wedding. It's supposed to be the happiest day of their life. And instead of celebrating, well, they did celebrate, ano, but eventually may nangyari and not only one guest but multiple and many guests ang na-positive. And of course, the couple, may responsibility sila doon and the parents also and the organizers. And I'm sure naramdaman naman din nila yung lungkot na may nangyari because you wouldn't naman invite someone to your wedding right now who is not personally either a family member or very close to you. So I'm sure, first of all, I'd like to state that wala namang may gusto talaga sa nangyaring yon. But
That's true.
again, yeah, I mean, I know na mabigat yun talaga for the couple, for the parents, kung may organizer man sila, also for the organizer. I mean, it was sad. And I don't think anyone was happy about what happened. So, ang ano ko talaga dito is planning talaga and realization that we are in the still, no, despite yung may bakuna, we are still here in the middle of an epidemic, of a COVID epidemic. And talagang the number one reason that COVID spreads really is through the air and by physical and contact and face-to-face contact po. Talagang kumakalat po with the way we breathe and that happens po with face-to-face contact. The more persons that are in an event or yung tinatawag po nilang mass gatherings, the more talaga mas mahirap kontrolin ng mga tao pag marami na. And one positive person could really cause a lot of problems for everyone. Pwede talaga magkahawaan from one person who is positive. So yun siguro yung napipick up kong lessons from this is that mass gatherings are really the primary source talaga of COVID na kumakalat. How can we avoid this? First of all, think how would you like your wedding to be? Maraming choices ngayon na pwedeng intimate, pwedeng virtual. Marami eh. You just have to really think about it. And mahirap man sabihin, but it's the realization na talagang baka may mangyari. At pag may mangyari, talagang responsible po kayo doon. So, how you will structure your wedding, how many you will invite, and sino ang imbitahin mo, it really depends on the government regulations. Of course, we have to follow that. But even though the government allows it, kailangan din pag-usapan nyo bilang mag-asawa at bilang pamilya what is important to you during this time. And sana pag-isipan yung mabuti what you would like to happen during your wedding.
Doc, follow-up question, dun sa sinabi mo na we're still in a pandemic. Has the situation gotten better in terms of from a medical perspective? Ang virus ba less contagious na siya ngayon? Especially may mga nagsasabing naka-vaccine na sila. So from a medical perspective, okay na ba yon for people to consider mass gatherings?
Well, there's a good and a bad. Okay, kasi where are we right now? We have just survived as a major surge netong March and April. Talagang from 1,000 a day dati, ngayon 7,000 na tayo a day. And it has never gone back to 1,000 or 2,000 the way it was nung December, January, February. And talagang the Philippines narrowly became, dodged a bullet. Muntik na tayong naging India, basically, kung gusto nyo, ano. If the government hadn't undertaken these very drastic moves, kung hindi talaga nag-cooperate din ang majority ng mga Pilipino, kung hindi talaga tayo umaksyon at kumilos, the potential to become a very serious situation, nandun na talaga. Kumbaga, nandun na tayo talaga sa bingit ng kamatayan or really at the edge. But everyone cooperated and the government really was forced to do this. No choice talaga tayo. And we narrowly escaped. You know, people dying in tents. Ako lang, personally, share ko yung nangyari sa akin. Yung my sister-in-law, nakapila dun sa ER ng Cardinal. Talagang number 75 na siya. After 3 days, naging number 25. So after 3 days, either mamamatay ka na lang or gumaling. Luckily, gumaling. So, but it was really that serious. And I think every one of us may kilala na talagang namatay. Hindi na, dati ba talagang mga anonymous yung mga namamatay, hindi mo natin kilala. Ngayon, I would say that everyone in Metro Manila knows personally or ka-Facebook friend yung isang namatayan. But we were able to survive that. People are asking, Doktora, bakit nag-loosen yung gobyerno ng restrictions kahit 7,000 pa rin ang positive? Well, COVID doesn't work on the same number. Kung talagang natuloy itong surge na to, we could have reached 30,000 at 10,000 na nga na-reach natin, pwede tayo naging 30,000 positive. And that really could have just kept on multiplying until ang mangyayari kasi people themselves will quarantine themselves sa sobrang takot eh. But the good thing naman during nitong surge, dumating yung mga bakuna. So that's a good thing. And our senior citizens and frontliners are currently being vaccinated, including yung mga A3, yung mga 18 to 59 with comorbidities. So ang bad thing naman dito, Sharon and Rona, people are naman thinking ngayon na may bakuna na. Kahit hindi sila nabakunahan, they feel safe. Hindi po yun totoo, okay? So you yourself have to be vaccinated. And more than that, marami nagtatanong, can we remove our masks after vaccination? Meron na nga move na tanggalin na doon yung mga face shields. Unfortunately, we are only having vaccinated, nakalagay 5 million approximately ang mga shots. 3 million yung first dose and 2 million yung second dosing. Meron pa ngang nawawala na 1 million na hindi pa nga na second dose. So what does this mean? Ang layo-layo pa natin from our target goal, which is 70% of the Filipino population would be vaccinated. So, ang talaga, malayo pa tayo doon. Kaya lang, may hope na, yung mga tao kasi may hope, parang sumusobra naman sila na, hindi, okay na, hindi pa okay. We still have to cooperate, we still have to work together para dumating tayo doon sa point na okay na.
So Doc, going back to an event, a wedding, no? So ngayon may vaccine na. So even if ako vaccinated na, ang tamang gawin pa rin is to keep on wearing my mask.
Yes. Yes, definitely. If you've been invited to an event, please continue to wear your mask and please continue to wear your face shield. And then again, it's also your choice if you still do not feel comfortable. Wag niyo pilitin yung sarili niyo talaga. Just say na hindi pa kayo ready. And if you are ready naman, again, don't remove your mask or your face shield.
Okay. Doktora, sa mga events, may nakikita po ako na, I don't know about you, Rona, but may nakikita ako and I know for a fact no, na sa mga tayo suppliers, no, syempre may testing. Okay, so pag nag-test na negative, malaki yung tendency na okay, pwede nang mag-relax kasi lahat tayo nag-test negative for COVID. Is there a medical study on this na okay nang gawin yon kasi negative lahat or reliable ba yung testing na yon?
Ako, antigen testing is just one way of another barrier towards towards becoming safe. Sinabi nga nila yung the more barriers that you have, the better. And just because you passed one barrier, which is the antigen testing, doesn't mean na para siyang Swiss cheese nakaganyan, no, papatungan. So kung ma-miss nung isa, yung isa naman ang doon. Yung patong-patong na So that is the basis for the mask, the face shield, the physical distancing, because each one has a level of protection. And kung hindi na-catch ng mask, nandito si face shield. Kung hindi na-catch ni face shield, nandito si physical distancing. So antigen testing is also one barrier that you could use. It is a technology that will help you screen out. But it is not an absolute technology. And just because you passed an antigen test doesn't mean na wala ka ng COVID. Antigen tests, meron rin siyang false positive and nakakatakot yung false negative. Kasi talagang positive ka pala pero you pass the antigen test, that can happen and it does happen. And then you remove your mask, ayun na yung problema. So let's realize that antigen testing is good. Antigen testing is useful. Kaya lang, it's not absolute. Yun lang.
So with the vaccines, diba? Because I think what's happening is, yung, as Ms. Sharon was saying, that with the vaccines here and despite the numbers, medyo or what you said is there's a little bit too much hope in the end of the tunnel. Tama ba? The light at the end of the tunnel. But your reminder is that despite having this good news of vaccines being rolled out, nothing should change when it comes to your behavior in being safe. Tama po ba?
Yes.
So,
Actually, tama yun. We are not yet at the point na we can remove our masks, we can remove our face shield. Sasabihin po ng gobyerno sa atin pag nandun na tayo. Pero, kailangan mag-ingat pa rin tayo.
Ayan. So, Rona, parang ano pala, no? Ganun pa rin from day one. Dapat
yes.
walang
No.
change.
Sorry.
Walang change.
Halimbawa, may company kayo.
Yes, go ahead.
Then,
Yes.
do your best na hikayatin lahat ng employees nyo. For your family, hikayatin nyo rin sila, yung driver nyo, yung mga kasambahay nyo, after you have been vaccinated, help the people around you and your co-suppliers and your company get vaccinated. In that way, you are providing circles of protection around you. Pati yung mga nasa event, kung masabihan nyo, ma'am, magpabakuna na ho kayo before your event. Kung may seniors dyan, hikayatin nyo na rin. Wala namang masama doon, di ba? So, yes, unfortunately, wala pa tayo sa point na we can remove our masks and our face shields. But the
the moment that we can, we
will be
encourage people to be vaccinated.
It will be announced, no? Kasi
Yes.
Doc, may mga nagsasabi rin na, bakit sa Israel, bakit sa US, bakit tayo hindi? Yun, baka you can explain.
Oo. Sa ibang, but let's make that a goal, diba?
Yes.
Bakit hindi tayo makakaabot sa ganon? Kaya din natin yon. Admittedly, they are richer countries than us. They were able to procure vaccines. Kaya lang, darating tayo to the point na makakabili din tayo ng bakuna. Darating din lahat ng bakuna, which is by the third and fourth quarter of 2021, this year, marami na bakunang darating. Kasi US tumigil na. In fact, they're already giving out their vaccines. Kasi ang meaning nila, they have more than enough supply and now they are already donating their vaccines to the COVAX and to the rest of other countries. So by 2021, third and fourth quarter, marami ng bakuna sa Pilipinas. Ang tanong na lang natin is, are we ready and willing to receive the vaccines that will be arriving? I am really hoping that the answer is yes, because the sooner that we can vaccinate everyone, the sooner we can remove our mask and our face shields at pwede na ho tayo magkita-kitang magpamilya.
Yes.
That includes happy gatherings of weddings and events na hindi po nangyari noong 2020, mag-celebrate na lang po tayo 2021.
Oo. Yes. So as a personal responsibility. So Doc, you would say as a personal responsibility, when the vaccine is available for you, go. Tama ba? That is your advice.
Oo naman. Yes. Once natawag na kayo, please go, get yourself vaccinated. And then don't stop there.
Kailangan,
make sure
kailangan
that
i-share.
Even if, merong mga, may mga Facebook skills, di ba? And then announce to persons, I have been vaccinated. Kasi, hindi lang naman ibang tao ang influencer. kayong dalawa, you're an influencer sa wedding industry. Malaking bagay
Mhm.
yon. You're also influencers in your own family, sa mga kamag-anaks, sa mga titos and titas, and to the younger members of your family. So what I'd like to say is everyone is an influencer. So after
That's
na
so
bakunahan,
true.
convince, kayo, may empleyado kayo, convince your employees,
Yeah.
tara na, para matapos na to, para makapaghanap buhay na tayong lahat.
Yan. Well,
Yes.
yan yung
I
ano,
think
yan yung hope
actually
natin.
very,
'Di ba? Yan ang hope natin eventually. And
very,
we hope that ano, hindi na mangyari na magkaroon ng I mean, ang doktora, when I read the news, no, yung bumagsak yung I couldn't explain what I feel. I texted Rona right away. Kasi parang wedding super spreader event. So ang bigat sa feeling, Rona, no, because that's what we have been advocating, safe events. Kaya gusto ko sana itanong kay Doktora na yun, ano ba talaga ang at this point? Because Doktora is saying na things are looking very hopeful at the end of the year. Pero ano yung mga non-negotiable natin at this point to avoid something like this from happening again in the future? Yan. So,
let's wait a little for Doc's connection, no?
oo.
But I think what's different kasi from the situation now and the situation last year is yes, we are still doing all the safety protocols that we need, 'di ba? Pero last year, yun nga, wala pa talaga tayong hope kasi nga dinidevelop pa yung bakuna. So for
Mhm.
me, while I am practicing these safety protocols, parang mas magaan yung loob ko kasi alam ko konti na lang, I'm gonna get vaccinated and the people around me will get vaccinated. So you keep going on, you keep practicing these safety protocols, you keep doing your personal responsibility of being safe. But now with the assurance that we're going to overcome this, it's just a matter of time. And now Doc is back. So Miss Sharon's question for Doctora was, what what are the things you need to remember? Tama ba?
Oo.
So that you will not host a super spreader.
Yes,
Yes, I
yung
think
at this point, Doktora, yung situation natin, what are the non-negotiables when you are planning a
oo,
wedding or an event?
yes. First of all, the non-negotiable talaga is think of your guests. Okay? Don't think of yourself. Though it is your wedding, you have a big responsibility talaga sa lahat ng tao. Because just think of it, people are leaving their house because they want to attend their wedding.
Yung ano?
I think because they want to attend your wedding. Yung parang the thought that they are coming to your wedding in
Mga
because they
guests
love
mo, mga
you.
minamahal mo
Ayan.
yan. Oo, these are close friends and close relatives and talagang
Mhm.
devastating kung talagang may mangyari sa kanila. Second is, if you decide to push through with it, think carefully about how you'd like to hold your event. Remember, alam na natin as planners, outdoors is better. Limit the number, talagang limit. Kung ano, even though the government said what percentage, think of yourself also, ano ba ang kaya nyo? Huwag niyong kakayanin just because pumayag ang gobyerno, kakayanin niyo lahat yon. Okay? And the thirdly is respect the professionals. That includes your planner and your suppliers. Do not push your planners and suppliers to do things that they are not comfortable with. Kasi sila din, may safety din doon. And yung mga planners natin, they are very cautious, they are well-trained, they are professionals. Alam po nila kung ano ang dapat gagawin. Talagang, I would like to stress that the professionals, let's respect them and listen to their opinions. Okay? Wag hong marunungan more than the planners. Kasi kung
Mhm.
kaya naman po, sasabihin naman ng planner nyo, ma'am, maganda yan. Kung hindi naman, please be open to advices. Kasi yung aawayin nyo yung planner, hindi, kailangan ganyan. Because bakit ganon? It's really not gonna be a pleasant experience for everyone. And it might even cross over to become unsafe. And then fourthly is coordinate with your LGUs. Kung makakuha ka ng barangay clearance, mas lalong mabuti. Kung know kung ano yung mga restrictions sa lugar nyo and follow them. Yun lang. And number 5, be open to suggestions. What is your dream wedding? May not be what will happen now because of the pandemic. Pero it might even turn out to be more personal and more beautiful than you ever thought it was possible. And number 5, meron pa namang next year. That it does not end today. No, we can have multiple parties and everything once it is safe. And the most important is yung safety ninyong lahat dito sa occasion na to. And remember, eventually, it's not about the wedding, it is about the marriage. And you don't want to start naman the marriage with everyone sad and sick. So, yun.
Okay.
But again, I'd like to stress, respect your professionals. Talagang malaking bagay yan.
Oh. Doc, for me, before my final question for you, in case you find out that somebody contracted COVID in your event, or kahit hindi siguro nakapag-contract ng COVID, but you as an event
Positive
host,
siya.
nag-positive siya, or kahit siguro walang nag-positive sa event mo, ano ba ang responsibility mo? Because may 14 days yan for you to realize kung meron or hindi. Especially kung may nag-positive, as somebody that who hosted the event, ano ang dapat na responsibilidad mo for that? And what should you do pag may nag-positive?
Oo, tama yan, Miss Sharon. Dati, as long as everybody had a good time, ang sarap ng pagkain, maganda yung entertainment, and umuwi silang nakangiti, tapos na yung responsibility natin, di ba? And we give a thank you speech after the event. Ngayon, unfortunately, because of the time of COVID, na-extend talaga sa 14 days. Talagang, hopefully, nobody will become positive after your event. But in the bad event na may nangyaring ganon, I think talagang honesty and openness. Kung may nangyari, accept it. Wag, becoming negative, blaming them for other things. It's not gonna help eh. Kung may nangyari talaga, reach out again to your planners, get your wedding lists. Alam din naman yung mga planners kung anong dapat gawin after. And that's why we have a wedding list. That's why we have a sign-up sheet. I hope you invited people that you know what, hindi lang siya open, no? Coordinate with the barangay. Do not hide it. Be open. Call up people kung kailangan. And work with medical professionals and the LGU para makatulong dun sa mga naging positive. And to also inform those who may have been there at that time or malapit that something happened. I believe, it's better to be honest and open rather than itago, and it can even become worse. And that's why it's also very important for you to get all the necessary clearances sa LGU mo. Kasi if you went and did events without coordinating with the barangay, matatakot ka to tell the barangay what happened. So that's why I really suggest na work with the professionals and work within the system. Please don't try to sneak out your event. Kasi pag may nangyari, hindi ka makakahingi ng tulong and matatakot ka. Whereas if you really followed all the protocols and talagang, no event, ang dami talaga it might still happen. At least you followed all proper rules and alam mo kung sino ang dapat yung i-notify.
All right.
Yes.
So reminder po yan, especially now that we have started, the IATF has started to lift some of the restrictions and are allowing events to happen again. I think dito sa NCR Plus, pwede na tayo ng 10% of venue capacity. But again, sabi nga ni Doktora, you have to check with your LGU kung ano ba talaga ang dapat na ini-implement natin. So timely reminder from a medical expert. Tama ba ang takeaway ko sa iyo, Doktora, ngayon is walang nagbago. Sabi ko nga kay Rona kanina, nung medyo nawalan ka ng connection, walang nagbago since nag-umpisa itong pandemic ng 2020. Lahat ng health standards, yun pa rin.
Yes.
Yes,
ako naman
walang nagbago at may mga bakuna na. So let's work towards vaccinating everyone. We can do our part. And as soon as we manage to reach our goal, babalik ang events. And magiging mas masaya pa siya because we can have events freely and safely.
Yes.
Without worry.
What I meant, Doktora, was yung ini-implement mong safety standards for yourself, for your family, does not change.
Yes. Yes. Tama, Miss Sharon.
Walang nagbago. Walang dapat magbago.
Yes, walang nagbago. Keep safe pa rin. don't let your guard down. Sabi nga, yung mga doktor sabi lang, ang hirap naman mabarel, patapos na yung laban. Like, the war is already ending and you got to be
Tama.
the last person shot.
Oo.
Malungkot yun.
And I
So,
made it this far,
yes.
di ba? I made it this far na,
Yeah,
guys.
nakasurvive na tayo ng kung ilang surge. Tuloy-tuloy na lang natin until the end of the pandemic where we can all properly celebrate in a safe, healthy, and happy manner.
Yes. So for me,
And gusto ko
I'm gonna
talagang
say,
i-emphasize, yung mga wedding professionals, professional talaga sila. They are going to protect
yes,
you, your guests, their staff, and you'll end up to have a happy event kahit pandemic.
yes.
But then again, you have to work together, be open to suggestions, and be open to changes. At yung mga changes na yun, malay nyo, gumanda pa yung wedding nyo. At least mabawasan kayo ng headaches and worries. So, I really, saludo ako sa wedding industry for working within the system and trying their best talaga to have events but in a safe and healthy manner.
So I think now more than ever, talagang trust your suppliers and do not DIY because it's actually a matter of uh, to be straightforward, no, life and death. Um, that's really what it is. That's really what Doctora is saying, right? That the reason there are professionals that you can trust to do your events, to make sure everybody is safe, is really a matter of health. So thank you, Doc, for joining us again this morning. Ang dami na naman po namin natutunan. So again, reminder, do not stop the safety protocols, apat dapat. And of course, our favorite now is magpabakuna po tayong lahat. Thank you,
Yes.
Doc.
Thank you,
Thank you so much
Doctora.
for guesting me. It's always a pleasure. Love wins talaga.
Yes, at kung may mga katanungan ka kay Doktora, she has a YouTube channel, nasa Facebook din siya, Dr. Anna York Bondoc. Pwede po kayo mag-PM and she will answer your questions. Yan. Wag lang masyadong personal question.
Thanks, Miss Sharon. Thanks, Miss Rona. Mabuhay ang love wins.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. Alright. Ang dami, di ba? Ang dami talagang takeaways from Doc Anna kahit na 20 minutes lang yung chika with her. It's always full, lagi pong busog. And like we said, no, in the pre-recorded video that we had, no, as you can see, that testing is just one of the many what was her term? It's just one of the many barriers, I think.
Barriers.
Yeah,
of,
one of the
safety
many barriers, safety barriers that we can utilize to make sure that our events are safe. But of course, that doesn't it's a barrier, meaning yung iba pong barriers, kailangan nandun pa rin po. Hindi po siya, pag tinanggal po yung, pag nakapasa po sa barrier na to, pwede na pong i-delete yung succeeding barriers.
Sama-sama
That
yun
of the-
dapat. Yeah,
Yes, that of the face shield, the face mask, physical distancing, and of course, washing of the hands.
Yes.
Ayan.
Kanina, sa interview natin, Rona, talagang saludo si Doktora Ana sa mga wedding professionals. No? Ang taas talaga nung respeto na binibigay niya because she knows that this industry, one, badly affected, but we're slowly coming back. And grabe talaga ang pag-pivot ng wedding industry because constantly we monitor anong nangyayari, di ba? And ang next guest natin is one wedding professional na kung tutusin, comfortable na siya. He's a president of his of the Robert Blancaflor group and he also has yung 18 .ph, no? Napaka-komportable na niya but he has pivoted. He is also the spokesperson for member ng National Live Events Coalition Philippines. So he's actively involved in making sure that una, safe ang events, pangalawa, tayo mga events provider will be able to cope up with the current situation. So talagang itong taong to, saludo ako. Ito yung sinasabi ni Doktora na talagang napaka-professional at hindi lang yan. He's doing more than iniisip mo possible na pwede palang mangyari for event providers. Yeah. So let's all welcome, no longer a stranger to Love Wins Live Forum. Isa to sa mga constants. Kung may constant sa buhay, constant to ng Love Wins Live Forum. please welcome Mr. Robert Blancaflor.
Hi,
Good
hi,
morning,
Rona.
Robert.
Okay. Nice to see you again. Okay.
Yes.
I, Doctoras, Anas, was very, very nice. Okay.
Yeah, and we're glad that you're here kasi ito na nga, straight to the point pag-usapan natin. Um, Nag-headline, wedding, ouch. Super
Yeah.
spreader, ouch. Okay, so, ano pa dapat, Robert, ang ating, and you've been meeting now with different stakeholders as a wedding supplier, and also sa mga soon-to-weds nanonood, ano ba yung things that we have to watch out for every time we host an event to prevent something like this from happening? Yung mga napag-usapan yung guidelines and yung mga pinupush, siguro maybe you can share some of that, pinupush na safety measures sa ating wedding industry.
Yes. Thank you, Sharon and Rona. It's NLEC has always been a believer that everyone gets protected. In any event, whether it's a wedding or a birthday or whatever, there shouldn't be second-class citizen. Diba? Alam mo yan eh. There are people na parang feeling nila, and we've mentioned this in the previous conversation na parang, bakit lang yung supplier yung ititest? Diba? Paano naman yung mga guests? Diba? So, we in NLEC believe that everyone should be treated equally. Okay? So in terms of safety protocols, in terms of things that they do. So for those, you can always go to NLEC page. There is the protocol guidelines that we've recommended in terms of having safe events. There are two ways to look at it. One is, actually, tatlong klaseng event yan eh. Okay? We all know that wedding suppliers don't just do weddings. Okay? They do other events. Okay? Just like, di ba kung minsan gumagawa ng mga prenup shoots, di ba? And some of these prenup shoots nangyayari 1 day, 2 days. So yun yung tinatawag na multi-date events. Okay? Pag mga ganyan, there must be, the recommendation is that testing is very critical. Although we believe, and we have discussed this, did I ever mention na we had a meeting with the IATF and DOT? We had a more recent meeting with DOT Secretary Puyat, DTI Ramon Lopez, Dole, Bello, and then we also have the Grales of IATF and different other government officials. What was discussed there is that we need to understand that weddings in the Philippines are not, hindi siya pare-pareho in every category kasi syempre mas mayayaman yung nandoon sa Manila in the total scope. When I say mayayaman yung gastos nila. Di ba? Mas malaki sila gumastos compared to people in the provinces. So one thing that they need to consider is that kung kaya mag-test kayo. Okay? Although may recent studies na naman, Rona and Sharon, okay? Because of this vaccination, a number of people gets positive with certain brands kahit na fully vaccinated na siya. And that's not bad. It means na meron ka ng antibody or whatever. Now, and that happens for antigen. Okay? So, nangyayari yung ganon. Kasi meron mga events, I remember there was NLEC kasi is working on a concert, okay, in coordination with CCP, and it was proven at a certain point that talagang merong individuals na fully vaccinated pero nag-positive, pero hindi na sila makakahawa. So there are cases pag antigen nangyayari yan. So just be alarmed.
Okay.
When that happens, you consult the right medical professional. Okay? So what we're saying is that in terms of weddings, there are two things that you need to look at. One is you do testing or you get a certification. I remember there was a wedding somewhere in the province na hindi available yung testing kasi it will take 3 days. Bago
To get
iti-test,
results.
dadalhin sa isang city, so it will take 3
Yes, tapos
days.
resulta pa.
So certification is considered another thing that you can use. Okay, and we've recommended that
Okay.
in the most recent IATF discussion. I also agree with Doctora that you need to have face shields, you need to all of that. Eating is very critical in the super spreader. By the way, Sharon, 62 na nag-positive, hindi na 43. Yes. 62 na nag-positive out of 300 kasi may inuman at saka may kainan, nag-buffet pa, and then ginawa nila sa compound nila. So alam mo ano nangyari? Nademanda sila ng LGU.
Oh. Okay.
So
Okay.
there is a pending case on them right now kasi wala talaga magagawa. Kasi hindi nga sila pinayagan. Kasi at that time, hindi naman talaga kaya yung ganun kadami. Okay, so hindi sila pinayagan. So ginawa ng LGU, dinimanda sila. So and this should pose as an alarm to everyone else in the wedding or in the social na pag hindi nyo ginawa yung tama, didemanda na talaga kayo ngayon because I think that's the right way to do it. Okay? Kasi whether we like it or not, I agree that wedding professionals are, one of the best. They know what they're doing. But there are those na talagang pasaway pa din. Okay? So, number one, so when you're asking me, di ba, kung ano yung maganda, dapat magte-testing ka. Okay? Kung di ka mag-guess, mag-medical certificate ka. Pag mayroong may symptoms, palabasit mo na. Okay? Just to share with you, we're doing a wedding which requires us to do the setup. Small lang, pero hindi kasi pwedeng dire-diretso kasi tulad yan sa church may mga misa. So we're doing it in 3-day setup kasi may mga panels, may mga ganon. So alam mo bang everyday may antigen kami? Every single day.
Wow.
Yeah,
everyday papasok ka antigen. Kasi lalabas ka na eh.
Yes, exactly.
So yan yung sinasabi. Every time lalabas ka, pagpasok mo, iba na naman yan. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless dun ka natulog, di ba? Dun sa setup mo.
So kasi hindi mo
hindi naman pwede lagi.
Kasi hindi mo naman, at saka hindi mo talaga, and then of course, there is a dollar requirement. Hindi ka na pwede magtrabaho more than 12 hours. Dapat alam natin yan. Kasi right now, pag nagtrabaho ka more than 12 hours, pwede ka nang i-demanda ng empleyado mo. Okay? So those things. So let me just share na talagang ganun ka grabe, ka-strict yung gagawin namin, ano? Okay. And then in addition to that, of course, yung nangyari kasi sa super spreader, I think number one na mali nila, wala silang testing. Number two, may tinatawag ka na every space, di ba yung space kailangan may tao lang. That's why nga sinasabi nila 20%, 10%. In fact, right now, tama si Sharon na 10% ang allowed through GCQ, pero pwede ka mag 20% pag may safety license ka.
Okay. This is what we talked about in the last guesting that you did, that having a safety officer, di ba, per event.
Yes. Okay. So pag may ganyan, normally it is safe to still do it with DOT accredited establishments.
Right.
Or LGU accredited na may safety seal kasi they are allowed 20%. That's why sinasabi kanina, parang you need to coordinate with your LGU because the LGU will tell you, ay hindi pwede yan, hindi pwede yan. Nangyari kasi sa super spreader, ginawa nila to sa compound. Naglat sila ng lamesa, nag-buffet sila, nag-inuman sila. Nagkantahan pa siguro to, 300 people. So 20% got infected with COVID.
Ang taas.
Yes.
20%.
20%. So nangyari doon, ang daming hindi ginawa. So when you do your events, number one, buffet bawal. Alam natin yan. Okay? Number two, pag kumain kayo, that's why may distancing di ba? 1 meter or at least 2 meters. Kasi pag ni-remove mo na yung mask mo, doon na lalabas. Although maganda yung outdoor, pero mas maganda pa rin sana may purifier ka kahit outdoor, di ba? Kasi let's all accept it and let's all realize that the virus is airborne.
Airborne, yes.
Makulit-kulit to, okay?
Sa Tagalog, nasa hangin siya, pwede mong ma-inhale.
Yes, oo.
At nagsasalita ako, tulad tayo, nag-usap tayo, tapos enclose yung area, mababa yung ceiling, nag-aircon ka pa, good luck,
yes.
di ba?
Kaya di ba they say na pag, kunwari, offices, it's mahirap talaga siya because you're in an enclosed space for long periods of time, di ba? Na kahit nakamask tayo at lahat and it's in the air, malalanghap mo pa rin. And I think a lot of event organizers also say the other one of the top difficulties when hosting weddings and events is syempre pag nakainom na po ang mga guests natin, when they are
Yeah.
inebriated. Of course, it's so hard to keep following safety protocols, di ba?
And not just that,
you don't.
kahit na outdoor ka, pag malapitanay na kayo, nag-inuman ka na, yun nangyari sa super spreader eh. Nag-inuman, nagharapan, nagkwentuhan, wala na. Tapos na yung laban.
Hirap ka talaga nun.
Tapos na yung laban.
Anybody will say, ang hirap to follow safety protocols, di ba? When you're feeling a
So
little
that's why
woozy.
outdoor is recommended provided you still adhere to safety protocols. Hindi pwedeng
Right.
outdoor ka na lang, bahala na, di ba? Hindi pwedeng ganon. You need to make sure that you still adhere to safety protocols. So,
Hindi
ganun,
din po siya barrier. Hindi din po siya yung parang testing na basta pasado lahat pwede nang itapon sa yung other things, no?
correct.
Outdoor is
Okay.
just one of those other things that makes it safer.
That's why nga, when you do events or weddings, sinasabi ng government, 3 hours. Kami, 2 hours. Kumain ka na ng mabilisan, di ba? Siya kayo, Sharon, Rona, instead of 6-course meal, gawin mo na lang 3-course meal, okay? Soup, main, dessert, go out, okay? Ganon.
Hindi na po natin goal na pabusugin kayo na hanggang bukas.
Kasi
Robert,
the more
will this be part of the guidelines that you will be pushing? Recommended guidelines?
We push for 3 hours, but we also recommended 2 hours. Although hindi kasi kaya ng 2 hours. So but we do a maximum of 3 hours in terms of the guidelines. It's all in the guidelines. It's consistent with the government. What we're saying that the guidelines that we are doing is much more than what the government is requiring,
Yes.
because we know
Specific to weddings and
Specific to
social
weddings.
events. Okay. And
In
this will be
fact,
given to all, this will be given to all suppliers. Suppliers will have access to this.
it's actually available online in the NLEC page. There is a specific guideline for weddings. In fact, this is a living document, so we're gonna change it every time. Kasi we're now doing a testing just to give you some sort of a positive way of doing things. Where we did see NLEC together with a few of the group did a study on yung orchestra, and then they did testing before. They did 50-piece orchestra, and then they did post testing, and it worked. Kasi meron na sila yung mga binubutasan nila yung mga face shield, tapos nandun na yung mga nagsak, yung nag-trumpet. Ang dami ng ginawa.
So naka-face shield sila habang they were hearing a wind instrument? Amazing.
Yes, binutasan, nilagyan ng ganyan. Tapos yung individual na working station, may purifier. So it's actually working, and this is what the safety people in NLEC are doing. We will give you recommendations, but you need to follow recommendations, because number one, alam mo naman, live performances are still not allowed. It will be for some time until we devise a system wherein it is allowed. Okay, so it is something that they are working with CCP. So hopefully, when this is released, it is something that people will adhere to. Okay. So this is good news, okay? Continuously, we are pivoting. We are making sure that we offer, we go back to what we're used to, but of course with added safety protocols.
Okay. Robert, so tama ba? Ang learning natin dito sa particular activity na to that became a super spreader, ang hirap pala kasi parang nag-DIY sila.
Yes.
Diba?
Alam mo, hindi namin alam. Hinahanap namin kung sino. Kasi I'm sure merong organizer yon. Nagtatago na
Kasi
siguro.
ang laki. Kasi
Oo,
ang laki.
laki. And
Hindi siya 30 people eh.
May budget
dancing,
to.
May dancing.
budget to.
So may lights and sound yon.
Oo. And may budget to. Kasi alam mo yun, hindi ka naman mag-host for 300 people kung wala ka budget to feed 300 people. Diba?
Yes.
So, yeah, I think, and it's probably, I was saying they identified the area, and it's a known residential area. So you have the medyo magagandang subdivisions in that area. So, what I immediately thought of was, yun nga, ang hirap if it's DIY, because probably, and if there are others out there thinking na, okay, I can do a home celebration, because of course we're also encouraging that for if you're not brave enough to go out of your homes, then do a home celebration and you do it safely. So they probably thought, sige, mag-home celebration ako. Kasi kung gagawin ko sa hotel, bawal sa restaurant, bawal sa venue. But I guess, kaya nga siya bawal for a reason. Kaya siguro limited ang number of people. It's really for a reason. But yeah, because you decided.
Different households, nangyari ng different household. You can do home celebrations as long as it's within the same household. So let me also share with you what what we're doing in the next wedding. Yung mga parehong household, pareho silang areas. Yung magkaiba, magkahiwalay. So, merong lamesa na dalawa lang kasi couple. Hindi sila pwedeng i-mix sa iba. So, that's the way to do it, di ba?
Yeah.
Kasi, hindi mo naman, kasi mag-aalis talaga ng mass yung pag kumain.
Yes.
Mabuti lang isama mo yung pare-parehong households.
Yes.
Diba? So that's the best way to do it. You always have to consider pareho ba sila ng tirahan, di ba? If that is the case, pwede mo na silang isama. Okay? Pero yung magkaiba, ihiwalay mo talaga.
Yeah.
Yun. I'd like to share, Robert, before, Ron, I just like to share, I'm working on a project now. And alam naman, Robert, diba, I've been coordinating a long time ago. And every so often, I'd accept a good project. This is a 50th wedding anniversary. And the reason why I'm excited about this is that it's 90% virtual. So
okay, wow.
Yes. So we're up for the challenge. Yung group namin, Teams and Motives, our events are PNM events. It's 90% virtual because in consideration of the celebrants, senior citizen, majority of the friends attending senior citizens. So everything will be done virtual. Food packs will be sent to the different homes, and as of today, we already have a head count of 85 guests. So, 85 guests siya, but they're following all protocols, limiting the number of people. So, even the suppliers involved, very lean. They decided to do away with a lot of the suppliers because ang focus nila is to celebrate the milestone. Yun ang importante. Diba? Parang tanggalin natin yung mga frills. Ano ba yung essence nung celebration natin?
In fact, the one that we're doing also, Sharon, let me share with you, lahat ng guests will do RT-PCR. And then, meron silang sariling QR code. Pag nagpadala ka na ngayon ng RT-PCR, papadala mo, di ba? Papadala mo sa organizer. Si organizer, meron isang safety team. Si safety team, bibigyan ka ng QR code. Pag wala kang QR, kahit anong gawin mo, hindi ka makakapasok sa venue. Which means yung QR mo, of course, with 36, 72 days validity, yung QR mo basically says that you've submitted your RT-PCR. Okay, ngayon, that is for the guests kasi sinasabi nila, okay lang yung suppliers kasi yung suppliers everyday will be tested. Tapos pag naiwan siya doon, mag-RT-PCR siya. Pero pag lumabas ka, pwedeng wala ka na kasi wala ka naman doon eh. Pero pag the time pumasok yung bisita, naka-RT-PCR lahat yun. Dapat naka-RT-PCR din lahat na nandoon. Okay? So that's a good, that's a good process. Pero mahal. Itong sinasabi natin, hindi lahat affordable. Okay?
Yes.
So kung hindi lahat affordable, what is it that you need to do? So you need to have a medical certificate. You need to make sure you limit the hours, okay? Lahat, okay? You make sure yung distancing is very critical. You also need to look at your fully vaccinated individuals, kung ilan na nandoon. Because that is also good for contact tracing. Kasi pag fully vaccinated ka na, di ba? I mean, you can still be a carrier, okay? But hopefully, hindi ka na magiging in a critical condition in case you get affected. But you can still affect other people. So, and I'm sure you've heard naman the new, you've seen the new IATF Resolution 119, which basically says the fully vaccinated people are only now required to do 7 days quarantine instead of the 10+4, which is 14.
Okay.
So slowly, the government is opening it up. Okay. In one of the discussions in our discussion with IATF, what we said is, dapat si event, reopening of events should be consistent with the vaccination process and capacity and percentage. I remember one of the senators mentioned, which I totally believe. Okay, sinabi ng senator na Eh bakit pa ako mapapavaccinate kung di mo naman pala ako i-open up yung economy? Di ba? So, nandoon na naman lahat yon, okay? Hindi naman natin sinasabi na pag fully vaccinated ka, meron kang talagang totally you are class A,
Free.
di ba? Free. But what we're saying is, to encourage people to be vaccinated, okay, you should give them some sort of perks, di ba? Still consistent with the health protocols, okay? So, eventually, I think they're looking at travel, and then meron na ngayon, di ba, green lane, i-implement na dito, which was discussed only that time during our meeting. Implement yun na yung green lane. Pag fully vaccinated ka na, diretso ka na, di ba? Wala nang ganito, ganyan. So slowly, the government is open to that idea of fully vaccinated individuals. And I hope that, especially in events, we should all encourage people to get vaccinated because that is the key, okay, for us to really reopen.
Yeah. So, same reminder, no, from Doc Anna to Robert. If your time to be vaccinated has come up, please do get the vaccine. No matter what it is.
Yes.
Line up, diba? This is part of our personal responsibility. I know all of us are saying, sana matapos na to, sana matapos na to. And getting vaccinated is playing your part in sana matapos na to.
And then not just at A4, they're already implemented A4. Lahat ng wedding industry, kahit sino ka pa, is qualified under A4. Because you go out and, yes, under A4. If you look at A4,
yes.
Government
individuals who cannot work from home. Tama ba yan?
Yes,
yan yung bagong dinagdag.
And this covers formal and informal sector. So freelancers are part of A4.
Robert, what do they need to present? Kasi kung freelance ka, wala kang company ID. So ano ang supporting document mo? Because when you go to the vaccination center,
you go to your LGU, ako nag-apply ako sa Pasig even though our company purchased vaccine because madi-delay, di ba? So, pupunta kami ng LGU and then we applied. And then they will give you, well, in terms of our LGU, they sent us a Google Sheet to confirm kung na ano ka talaga. Since kami may ID, then fine. But for our freelancers, they were also sent the same Google Sheet and you just have to tell them that this is what you do. Okay? Kasi bottom line naman sa government is, kung sinong gusto magpabakuna, babakunahin namin. Basta as long as there is the vaccine. Okay? Ayun, kung ayaw nyo magbabakuna, problema mo yun, di ba? I mean, yun yung thinking ko, sorry ha, okay?
So Robert, kasama dito, no, yung mga driver,
lahat.
The helpers, pag may production, di ba? So lahat.
The good thing about A4, initially kasi, let me tell you a story. Initially, A6 tayo sa weddings. No, B6.
B6, right.
General population.
Mm-hmm.
So we made a discussion with one government agency and they promised, we will move you to B3. Okay? The good thing na lang is when we were already in B3, hindi pa namin na-announce. And nandoon na si wedding industry and events industry sa B3. Nangyari is, na-realize ni IATF na bakit may classification pa? Pati hindi na lang lahat ng working population. Diba? That's why lahat minove to A4. Okay? So, this is good for all of us, okay? Which means, may nagtatanong dyan sa events, kailan ako? Now is the time. You are now qualified to be vaccinated, okay? That's why the NLEC has this, we have this campaign, we will be vax. Diba? So, technically, we will be back, but we will be vax, okay? So,
we will be vax.
Yeah. So this is something that, so to those who are asking, you are now qualified to get vaccinated under A4, whether you are a company employee or you are a freelancer.
Okay, so that's your homework after this live stream. Make sure you are registered.
Yes. Go to your LGU and find out how you can be registered. For Quezon City, kasi Quezon City ako, there's an Easy Consult app.
Easy Consult, yes.
And you download that sa inyong mga mobile phones or you can access that through your PC or laptops and then just register. And then, syempre may konting approval process yan, but they get back to you madali lang within the day. And then as soon as may available vaccine, you just have to sign up for a schedule.
The
And
slot.
then that's
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, you book your schedule and then that's it. So for Quezon
This
City,
is,
kasi taga Quezon City ako, yun yung akin
sa
namang
Pasig naman, there
contribution.
is Pasig Pass. Pero may isang sikreto. Pag, di ba, pag Pasig Pass, in-update mo na, papadalang ka na. So para to
Aha.
be sure, mag-messenger ka pa sa PIO. Okay? Sa Pasig PIO para doble, okay? Para marami. The more that you make kulit them, the more na sabihin nila, ito na nga, unahin mo na to kasi makulit, di ba? Okay, so okay, so ganun lang. Oh.
Oo. Talagang dapat maging aggressive tayo. I mean, tayo yung mag-initiate because tayo mga suppliers, we wanna go, ito yung nirereklamo natin, di ba, na-depress tayo, nalungkot, nagalit, kasi wala tayong trabaho. So, if we wanna work and we wanna do our work well, we have to really be proactive in terms of yung mga things that we should do as a supplier, following all safety protocols. And now, may isa pang thing na pwede natin gawin to protect ourselves, our employees, and our clients, take the vaccine. Diba? Sabi nga ng NLEC, so that we can all be vax.
Yes.
During
In
our
addition,
work.
in addition to that, we want to instill to everyone that we should support the government's call for they call it population protection now instead of herd immunity kasi iba yung requirements ng herd immunity. November 27. Right?
Ano yung
Meron
date?
tayo-
Oh, there's a date. Yun yung
There
goal.
is a date for NCR Plus, November 27, population protection.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
Let's do it. Diba? Yung sinasabi natin, gusto natin bumalik sa event, gusto nyo maganda Disyembre nyo, November 27.
Yes.
Yun na yun, okay?
Yes.
So
I
yung
think
goal
what's
natin,
also
goal
Oo.
natin
Yung goal
lahat.
natin, kasi, di ba, this was also discussed with in that meeting. Sabi ko, pag nag-event ka kasi, nag-wedding ka, hindi naman yun na bukas mag-event ako eh.
Mhm.
Di ba?
Mm.
Mag-event kami in months time, pero right now, as event planners, mahihirapan yung mga event planners to plan kasi hindi mo alam kung kailan ba talaga pwede. Okay, so now,
Yes.
meron ka November 27. Let's all aim for November 27 para, let's say, after November 27, you can plan. Di ba? Pwede ka na magplano ngayon, you implement in December or January, pero meron kang guideline in November 27. Ngayon, mag-decide ka na lang ng buffer date. O sige, 1 month. Okay, so gawin ko na lang January, di ba? Kasi baka hindi matuloy si November, di ba? Pero at least meron ka ng date na pinagtitingnan ngayon. And this is why I also admire that part of the government because nagbigay na sila ng date, di ba?
Mm.
Kasi before, parang sa US, di ba? Parang I mentioned this
Biden?
before. Si Biden na siya, si Las Vegas, June 1, nag-open na siya lahat.
Nag-open siya. Yes, yes, yes.
Oo. Sinabi niya before, parang April, June 1. May deadline ako June 1. So yung mga tao, alam na, plinano na yung travel, plinano yung ganyan. Lahat naka-ready. So June 1, nag-open siya. Dapat ganun eh. Okay?
Para kumbaga, ang is mali na usapan, okay?
Mali na usapan,
ito ang gusto nyong mangyari. This is when we're gonna do it on our part, diba? As businesses, as travelers, we can create plans. Kasi doon nga nahihirapan yung couples, diba? Yung, I'm gonna plan it this month. Tapos pagdating 1 month from there, hala, biglang ECQ ulit or whatever na parang urong-sulong yung nangyayari. And that's why everybody is so, irate, naiinis sila.
At
But
saka
with this,
maabilidad yung mga taga-events. Unahan nyo na yan. Mali naman yung term. But what I'm saying is, maabilidad tayo lahat. Okay? I am sure,
yes.
kayang-kaya natin magpabakuna ahead of everyone.
Mhm.
Maniwala.
Yes.
Okay? So our
No,
aim
and
is...
I think, sorry, what you're saying, Robert, what I'm getting from that also is just the reminder to trust the guidelines that are provided to us. They are there for a reason, no?
Yes.
Coming from the headline that we were talking about to IATF guidelines and what's being developed is meron pong rason, okay? Minsan
Yes.
kasi we don't trust the rules, di ba? Minsan when we see rules, we think, nasan ba yung dyan? Nasan ba yung loophole dyan? Paano ba ako makakalusot dyan? Di ba? Minsan, aminin natin, Filipinos, we have that tendency to think that way. And that's why we get in trouble, right? But now, hindi lang po siya in trouble, no? But like I said earlier in the pre-recorded video with Doc Anna, it's really a health concern. Hindi lang po siya, pag hindi po kayo sumunod or kapag naghanap po kayo ng butas, hindi lang po siya fine. Hindi lang po siya parang, the consequence can be it might be more than you're willing to handle.
Yes,
Diba?
in fact, let me share also what the events and wedding professionals in Dumaguete and Davao did recently. Di ba
yes, I saw this.
Yeah.
Di ba nag-search yung cases nila, si Davao naging MECQ na, si Dumaguete MGCQ pa rin. Pero ang galing believe ako sa kanila kasi on their own, nag-declare sila ng sign-off.
Yes, I saw that. That.
So Dumaguete and Davao nag-sign off. So, you realize that, as professionals in the wedding and the events industry, we are someone that you can look up to, di ba? Hindi naman kami kailangan bantayan all the time. May alam namin when to sign off, di ba? So maganda. I really admire those people. Yes.
Yeah. I guess we all have to we all have to realize that our actions, our decisions will have an effect on a lot of things. Kasi di ba, pwede kasi as a supplier, parang, bahala kayo dyan. Basta ako vaccinated, basta sige-sige lang ako. It cannot be that way. Diba? Or, if you're a couple, supplier, you feels that, hindi naman siguro kami tatamaan ito. So, we'll go ahead and do this and maybe bend the rules here and there. But it will have an effect. Again, may target po tayo.
Meron po pera inisip mo. If you put money on top of everything, okay, that's when the problem arises.
Yeah, diba? So we have a target, November 27. This goes for the suppliers and the sundupets. And we'd all like to achieve the target. But for that to happen, we all have to do our part. We cannot say na, sabi 27, pero between now and the 27,
wala kang ginawa.
At tayo yung pasaway.
Yes.
Diba?
Wala kang ginawa, diba? Akala mo darating na lang yung araw na yun, pwede ka na, di ba? Hindi naman pwedeng ganon. Okay?
It cannot, because again, this virus is unpredictable. So while we have a target, anything goes, di ba? Japan is on its 4th wave. And that's a superpower country. So we all have to do our part. There are things na parang sana ito yung gawin. I mean, if it's not, hindi yun yung standard mo, but we just have to follow. Hindi naman to blind follow. May reason yan. Perhaps we don't see the bigger picture kasi syempre ito lang nakikita natin. But we have to follow to reach that November 27 goal. And Robert, correct me if I'm wrong. Sabi mo nga, November 27, NCR+, sana, ideal, ang goal is mag-open up ang lahat. Okay. I suppose there would also be guidelines. Paano ang opening up of everyone? Hindi po ito free. Di ba? Hindi naman ito magiging free for all. Open up na, sige na. Di ba? There will be steps that have to be taken. So, as suppliers, it is our responsibility to keep ourselves updated. There is the NLEC Facebook page, no? Meron pong guidelines na nandun. Sabi ni Robert, it's a living document. It will be updated as needed, when needed. And it is our responsibility as professionals to go and be updated, check that every so often. So maraming responsibility, but we have to do it if we want to keep moving forward.
Yes, talagang kailangan talaga. You need to do that. And then the pandemic, it will extend to maybe 2022. I don't know kung hanggang kailan mawawala to. Waves will still go up. Okay, it will still come. Okay, kasi di ba sa US nga bumaba tapos umakyat, pero hindi na ganun kataas. And the vaccination played a very crucial part in that. Okay, but then and again, I think going back to your guidelines na tinatanong Sharon, I think it will be LGU based. Feeling ko kasi iba-ibang LGU, iba-ibang iba-ibang iba-iba yung situation. No? Iba-iba yun.
Yun. So, Robert, again, ako, I'd like to encourage lang everyone, lalo na yung mga nag-sign up sa NLEC, no? May nangyayari, please do check the page of NLEC, Weddings and Socials, because that is the best source of information na ano na ba ngayon, wag po tayo mag-DIY, wag po tayo mag-second guess, wag po tayo magkaroon ng sariling interpretation natin sa mga guidelines na nilalabas.
Yes,
Robert,
in fact,
very accessible.
In
Diba?
fact, yung guidelines natin nandun na sa lahat. Ano, we're just awaiting, well, I'm actually part of the TWG, yung Technical Working Group, that will be working with IATF. There's a IATF, ito yung mga nagde-decide. Ano. We are just waiting for, DOH is just reviewing one final review of the guidelines. Hopefully, with the reopening, we will be called for a TWG meeting with IATF to discuss the guidelines that will be released. So we're just waiting for that. The good thing about this is because of that meeting, nandoon na tayo, di ba? It took us a year. Kasi syempre, inuna muna nila yung hospital, inuna yung ganyan. But they realize, even Secretary Mon Lopez was saying, we understand, alam namin na nagsasuffer na kayo. So, but you understand also that it's really mass gathering. So we need to make sure we open up mass gathering subject to certain protocols talaga. Because alam naman natin, sa lahat na nagiging super spreaders, it's all about mass gathering. So it's all about mass gathering, okay?
Yeah. So when that happens, Robert, we will ask you to come back again and share itong guidelines natin for mass gatherings.
Yeah, this is going to be the guidelines that will really be released by IATF based on what we recommended. Okay, so hopefully, para at least meron ka nang susundan, di ba? But then again, the guidelines, what NLEC did is we considered the difficulties of certain people. We also considered that some people cannot afford to do all testings, di ba? I mean, we were very liberal in that. Okay, but then again, the call also was, and it's a good thing. Okay. The good thing about that additional 10% na ginawa, and we were surprised, kasi in that meeting, we were stressing out the importance of a safety officer and a safety seal of an organization, of an establishment. And nagulat talaga kami na yung bagong IATF rule, nilagay na nila yung 10% additional if you have the safety seal. So which means, si Dole ngayon, is realizing that part, na hindi niya kayang gawin. Pero kayang gawin to for us to open up once you give that responsibility to the professionals and to the establishments. Okay. Diba? So eventually, baka ganun yun. Right now, 10% capacity plus 10% if you have safety seal.
Yeah.
Baka naman magiging 20% na uli yan hanggang sa 50, di ba? Kasi yung gagawin nila dyan, feeling ko lang, this is my personal opinion, they will give more importance to the safety seal more than the capacity. Because kung may safety seal ka, ibig sabihin nun, may pananagutan ka. Diba? So they'll pass it on to us. They'll pass it on to us because hindi na rin nila, and we all know that, hindi na rin nila lahat tututukan. There are 300,000 weddings in the Philippines in a year. Do you think matututukan lahat yon? No.
Yes.
You cannot.
That's true.
300,000 weddings based on 2019 status, di ba? This is a real 299,000 something. Pero you think kaya nila? Hindi nila kaya yan. Okay?
Yeah.
So give it to someone, give the responsibility to someone. And si Dole na lang mag-i-implement in terms of sino yung pasaway, sino hindi pasaway. Diba? It's also good for us, for the professional, because pinapasa nila sa establishment. Diba?
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Yun.
Yeah, so yun ang hihintayin ko rin, Robert, kasi alam mo naman, ang talagang main line ko, mass gathering.
Yeah.
Pero tanggap ko na yan, we are really the last batch in terms of
the
live
your online can only do so much, ha? Alam mo yan.
Yes. Alam ko yan, di ba? And there's
Your
nothing like the face-to-face.
can only do so much.
Yun. So, naghihintay rin kami niyang guidelines na yan. Ako, kasabay ko ang mga concerts, ang mga movie houses.
Yes,
kasi mass gatherings. But we are looking forward and willing to, abide by the guidelines. And yun din ang panawagan ko sa kapwa ko, event organizers ng bridal fairs, conventions. Let's wait for the guidelines. Let's not DIY. Kasi baka yung repercussions nun, ang hirap kargahin afterwards. I mean, diba?
And there's also a petition. Meron ng dinimanda. Gusto ko bang ikaw susunod? At saka may news sa TV Patrol. I mean, sorry, okay? The news yun sa TV Patrol, Yung na-demand call. Yeah, it was in the news.
Yeah, so let's not reinvent or invent our own guidelines. events yun. So,
Yeah.
because we do not want to be a super spreader event.
And then naka-hot seat kasi tayo kasi gatherings.
Yes,
With all the
gatherings
new
tayo.
hot seat tayo eh. Naka-hot seat tayo. Si weddings, naka-hot seat. Si resort, naka-hot seat. Okay? Inuman, naka-hot seat. It's all about gatherings. Okay? And this is basically what we do. Okay? Kahit saan tayo paikot-ikot, naka-hot seat tayo ngayon. So, wag na natin dagdagan. Kasi pag dadagdagan pa natin, baka sabihin na ay, wag na lang, hayaan mo na sila dyan. Sila naman yung customer.
Oo. Tsaka baka bigla sabihin, Robert, na ganito na lang kasi naging effective na 10% na 10 people lang in a wedding, 10 people na lang.
Yeah,
We don't want that to happen. So let's
Kasi yung
all
nangyari sa Davao, di ba, Cagayan de Oro, yung mga may mga approval sa LGU, binawi lahat. Kahit na yung wedding mo bukas. So may mga nag-question, paano yung bulaklak ko? Wala ka ba nagawa? Binawi lahat ng ano mo.
We don't want that to happen.
We don't want that to happen.
Yeah, hindi lang dito sa NCR but all over the country. We don't want that to happen to us wedding suppliers, di ba?
Correct.
Kasi talagang we're barely keeping ourselves afloat. So,
at saka malapit na, Rona, at saka Sharon, malapit na to. Di ba? Malapit na to. Konting tiis na lang. Nagtiis nga tayo ng 1.5 years eh. Di ba?
Yes. Let's do our share. Robert, thank you so much. I'm sure we will ask you back again pagka nag-come into fruition yung mga guidelines na yan. And thank you for what you are doing for the live events industry, especially yung weddings. Pero gusto ko na naman, bigyan kita ng opportunity naman na pag-usapan natin, paki-promote, event stylist, kung kailangan nila ng stylist, safety officer, almost 25 years of na hindi mo matatawaran ng reputation. How can they get in touch with you, Robert?
They can Instagram, Facebook, with Rob Blancaflor for Instagram. Facebook is Robert Blancaflor Group Inc. We also have 18.ph. That's our rental business. So we support everyone in terms of making sure that the event industry is doing well. We've opened Bacolod, we're opening Iloilo, and then hopefully Cebu. So we're trying to to be around. We're also launching our new company. It's RBG Spaces Inc. We've started with the Visayas. We're doing 2 events venue in the Visayas. And then in addition to that, hopefully we're also going to be venturing into Airbnb. So that's really basically
congratulations.
3 companies. Of course, we're 2023. We're gonna be 2022. We're gonna be our 25 years. What we're also doing is we make sure that we continue to provide the service that we've been known for. I mean, we don't go for quantity, we go for quality. Okay.
Thank you so much, Robert. And always a pleasure having you here in the event. And I appreciate that you also keep me updated, no? Pag may mga bago, tine-text ako yan ni Robert or he invites me in some of the meetings. So
we will text you. We will let you know if there will be other meetings. Maganda kasi yung you become part of all of this conversation with government officials, but it becomes you get aware of what's really happening. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much. We're all excited for November 27 to happen.
Yes. November 27.
November 27.
That's Christmas Day.
So let us make it our personal responsibility that we will not be a part of yung mag-contribute to a super spreader activity.
Yes.
We're all targeting November 27.
And then get vaccinated. That's the only way to achieve November 27 population protection, right? Get vaccinated.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert, and thank you everybody for joining us this morning. Enjoy your weekend. Sign up for your vaccines. Bye, everybody.
Bye.